but I like to think it's also because every night I get to inhabit this character. It's made me more optimistic and more joyful and appreciate my relationships more.
The world had no idea what to expect in December of 2022 when Ethan Slater was announced to portray Bach in the upcoming movie adaptation of Wicked. And I mean no one, not even this picture of Miley Cyrus laser focused at the 2008 Grammy Awards could have seen it coming. It was just as unforeseeable as the day Zoe Kravitz posted this picture with this caption.
Can we talk about like the political and economic state of the world right now?
Just 7 months after the casting announcement, in July of 2023, a new announcement hit the headlines, and it threw social media in a frenzy.
Ethan Slater's wife, Lily J, is breaking her silence on her husband's romance with Ariana Grande.
Ethan Slater allegedly told his wife about Ariana Grande days before the entire world found out.
Ariana Grande's boyfriend is officially leaving his wife and their new baby.
Ethan Slater's wife, Lily J, is said to be feeling betrayed now that the actor is dating Ariana Grande and reportedly feels like he abandoned their family.
Ariana and Ethan Slater went on double dates with their spouses, Dalton Gomez and Lily J, while they carried on with their affair.
Really time to grow up. I think I'm in a place where I'm ready to be caught in a real adult scandal.
I'm sick. You know that feeling when you take a Benadryl and you feel like slightly out of your mind? Yeah, I kind of feel like that. But the show must go on. So, the alleged extramarital affair between Ariana Grande and Ethan Slater entered a climate already primed by celebrity romance drama. People magazine counted 43 breakups and divorces in their article posted mid-December. I meant September. Nothing going on up here. And while that number may seem very normal, I mean, every 40 seconds a celebrity breaks up and a gossip magazine earns its wings, this year's list of breakups is different. If only because it reignites the public's thirst for high-profile hijinks, and it's people we actually care about. Britney Spears and her very angular husband Sam are at the top of the list, followed by Teyana Taylor and Iman, who split after 7 years. There's Brie Larson and that guy, Reese Witherspoon and this guy, Taylor Swift and Joe Alwyn caused a seismic Swiftie tsunami, Gigi Paris and Glenn Powell, Sydney's version, took the internet by storm for 12 minutes tops, Halsey and Alev Aiden split, Billie Eilish and Jesse Rutherford did too, thank God. Taylor Swift and Medusa Healy irritated us for about a month. Even the serial surprise breaker upper Joe Jonas made the list after he filed for divorce against Sophie Turner, a proceeding that spiraled faster than a Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared video. And the list goes on. God, is anyone else's blood pressure feeling particularly evil right now? Just aside, it's been a tough year for celebrity love. Their relationships are breaking down overnight, it seems. In front of the masses, catalyzed by scandalous affairs, plastered on headlines and gossiped about on Reddit. The corresponding news seems non-stop. Surely fans are taking it well? Okay, so love is dead. Celebrities killed it and cannibalized the corpse. I can work with that too. Believe it or not, and I'm sure you can, our obsession with celebrity relationships are not new. In fact, we as a society love love. It's in our music, our movies, our books, and our homes, if we're lucky. The very act of breathing and existing through the horrors of this so-called life is a declaration of love. If not love for oneself, then certainly love for someone or something else. Love is important. And even more than that, wealth is important. We love aristocracy, fame, godliness, especially if it's happening to us, but even more so if it's happening to someone just out of our reach. When this happens, we become obsessive, influenced, inconsolable. This is the culture that makes celebrity love all the more enthralling. It was November 6, 1919, when actress Jane Acker and actor Rudolph Valentino got married. Jean, who had a history and future of dating women, said her vows, left the service, and promptly locked Rudolph out of their honeymoon suite. They never consummated the marriage. Rudolph simply went home. To let Hollywood legend tell it, the marriage lasted for 6 hours. Guinness World Records considered it the shortest marriage in Hollywood, only rivaled in sentiment by the 72-day marriage between Kim Kardashian and some light-skinned dude I don't remember the name of. Of course, there have been shorter marriages in Hollywood than this one. There was Britney Spears and Jason Alexander, Carmen Electra and Dennis Rodman, but the union between Kim Kardashian and what's his name followed an interesting pattern of celebrity romance. In just under 12 months, we witnessed them meet, start dating, get engaged, get married, and get divorced. Not to mention we watched the wedding get commodified through a reality TV special and a limited time perfume created and sold by Kim to wear on her wedding day. Oh, how fun! The public reaction to Kim and discount Taylor Lautner's divorce was tenfold. Critics everywhere declared that Kim Kardashian, and her mother by proxy, were evil masterminds who fabricated an entire relationship just to drive ratings. That, my dear, has never been proven, but the Kim light-skin union serves as an interesting underbelly to the way we view celebrity relationships, and by that effect, celebrity love. Daniel Harris argued in 2007 that celebrities walk an impossible tightrope of romance. We want them to be single and wayward, but not too wayward, or else they'll threaten the institution of love. They need to settle down, but not for too long, or else we get bored of them. They need to keep us on our toes, but don't annoy us too much with their antics. We are disgusted but astonished by, as one blogger called it, Hollywood's huge melting pot of bedhoppers, because we have always felt that the upper classes have a different morality from our own, that they have the license to be licentious and can carry on adulterous affairs with impunity. In other words, we believe that celebrities operate on a different plane of romantic existence than we do. Their relationships have to be perfect. It's in their DNA. How else do they obtain and sustain high levels of success? They're supposed to reflect the best qualities of humanity, of romantic media, of our own ideals. And when their relationships break down, when they go through the very human experience of love and love lost, this too has to be larger than life. Harris argues, it is inconceivable that Hollywood couples break apart because of something as mundane as estrangement, that their relationship simply dissolves, that they go their separate ways. Instead, the ruptures must be swift and dramatic, the result of shocking revelations, of plot lines as stage-worthy as the films they star in. Take, for instance, the split between Joe Alwyn and Taylor Swift. The media gave the public next to nothing about why, how, or even when the relationship ended. Swifties couldn't fathom that a relationship of nearly 7 years that spawned numerous albums and iconic eras could simply stop existing. This disappointment was only redeemed when, earlier this year, Taylor Swift and Mackerel Healy spawned dating and breakup rumors within the same month. This was the drama everyone needed. We didn't want it, mind you. This guy is public enemy number 1. But this is what pop culture needed. To remain balanced in the throes of cognitive dissonance. To see celebrities walk, split in half, upon the tightrope we designed for them. This relationship both redeemed and vilified Taylor Swift. And unfortunately, this is the peak existence of celebrity. It's the only way we can tolerate them, let alone their relationships. They can be perfect, sure, we'll allow it, but we have to humanize them, even if it's embarrassing. Celebrities dance around love in ways normal people think they either don't or can't. Obviously, this isn't true. Our relationships are just as messy, and sometimes, depending on your social media presence, just as public as the celebrities. But we still hate celebrities for their perceived ability to manipulate love. We declare with no uncertainty that they feast upon the emaciated corpse of love. We are outraged by the brevity of celebrities' relationships because such opportunistic unions, uniting one brand name to another, desecrate modern notions of romantic love, which presume deeply felt affinities. But what if it's not just celebrities trampling on the institution of romance? What if our entire conception of love is... Oh, Olivia's son already made an entire video about that. Worst case scenario, love is purposely misconstrued in order to torture us for some higher being's entertainment. God has placed us Sims in a swimming pool of unobtainable rom-com tropes, and he has taken away the latter. The best case scenario is that love is simply too complex and our minds too addled by media ideals for us to have a fair and nuanced conversation about love. And that's still probably not a fair enough assessment. The first issue we have when characterizing love is the conflation of love with relationships and marriage. The reason why love is dead to so many people is because marriage numbers are apparently down, relationships seem to last shorter periods, and more people are being vocal about not wanting to indulge in the nuclear family structure. Marriage and relationships are dead, screams the netizen. So love is dead too. But this is a logical fallacy, a hasty generalization, in fact. God, do I sound like Ben Shapiro? The point is, if everyone on planet Earth got divorced or broke up tomorrow, love would still exist in this world. You can love someone and not be married to them, obviously. You can love people and not be interested in romantic love. But when we talk about how love is dead, we always seem to talk about marriage, romantic love, and romantic relationships. Other human love be damned. So let's follow that thread, the thread of romantic love and its supposedly inherent link to marriage and monogamous relationships. Forrester et al. Argue that the media sets the tone for our romantic expectations. Rachel Treisman agrees, stating, "Our culture places high value on monogamous romantic love. Therefore, we're conditioned to want and idealize happy, long-lasting couplings. These couplings, if going by media standards, are oftentimes modeled after the nuclear heterosexual family. They endorse endurance over divorce and suppression over confession. Sure, bad things may happen, but it's nothing that love can't fix. You fall in love, the love sustains, and you live happily ever after. Aurora gets kissed awake and Cinderella finds her shoe, and we're all supposed to ignore what happens after, if the relationship lasts years down the road. I suppose we just have to assume that it does. Love in the media happens the same way every time. No matter the princess, no matter the way in which she's saved, love is secular salvation. There is one person made for everyone on earth. Two people were cut in half and born into soulmates. Love doesn't take effort when it's perfectly crafted for you. It just happens. A way of inherently existing, not a way of trying. That isn't to say that media romance is vapid. Certainly, there's some structure in there, somewhere. But I do think media romance is unrealistically neat. It's ideal, it's something we internalize, and consequently, it affects the way we see ourselves, each other, and our relationships. If you go into any fandom space, whether it be for a fictional character or a real celebrity, it'd be hard not to find someone or a slew of people stating, "Insert name here has ruined other people for me. They simply made my standards too high. I'll never love, I'll never marry, and if I do, it's merely to settle." Indeed, Forrester et al. Argue that these unattainable ideals set forth by romantic media affects our relational satisfaction. Just imagine what celebrities, the new models of entertainment, are doing to our hearts. The interesting thing about media and the way it fosters unrealistic expectations of love is that we apply media idealism to celebrities and their relationships. A few of my T.O.E submissions noted how we view celebrities not as people, but as characters, almost as if they're starring in movies about their own love lives. They're not real to us. Therefore, it's easier to expect more from them than we would from ourselves or our peers. Because of this inhumane image, celebrities are integrated into the larger zeitgeist of media idealism. They're a piece of media to us, only existing to market that explosive, perfect imagining of love. They make songs about it, they perform love on screen, and the details of their intimate encounters are fed to us like sustenance. As Daniel Harris argues, celebrities embody an extreme example of how the economy of love has changed. And so their relationships are important to us. We care about who they date and how. They're our new fairy tales. Indeed, they're the very stage managers of modern romance. Therefore, you often see them living out romantic tropes such as love at first sight and crazed infatuation, hard, fast, and cataclysmic love. It's perfect, at least to us, because just like the fairy tales, just like the movies, we don't know all the details. We don't know what happens when the screen goes black or when a celebrity closes their door. And yet we can't help but be drawn into this myth of love. In a way, we experience a celebrity's relationship the same way we experience a character's or our own. Their love becomes our love. Their heartbreak becomes our heartbreak. Forster et al. Defined parasocial relationships as imaginary, one-sided relationships. While these have always existed, they're becoming stronger in the internet age. We fall into parasocial relationships the way we fall into mythic, perfect love. But I would argue that parasocial love isn't fake. When I was in middle school, I'm going to tell you a secret, I fell into a cataclysmic love affair with One Direction. They didn't know I existed. And yet, I own a One Direction book bag, a One Direction toothbrush. My bedroom was covered ceiling to molding with posters, song lyrics, and drawings. I cared about their health, their happiness, their success. It would be impossible to imply that 11-year-old me was faking those emotions. Of course, you could say that I was obsessed or simply infatuated, but I truly believe that at that time, I got to explore my first foray into romantic love. Even if it was all in my head, and even if it was idealized love. Believe it or not, these parasocial relationships are actually crucial to the development of young people. They're psychologically similar to interpersonal relationships in terms of how they're cognitively managed and organized. You can have a parasocial relationship with a coworker, a peer you want to be friends with, and even someone you find romantically viable. That latter one is marked by physical attraction and strong romantic feelings toward the object. Forster et al. Call these relationships PSRRs, or parasocial romantic relationships. And PSRRs serve an important psychological role in developing identity. Further, they can play a role in relational beliefs and relationship experiences. The same way our society forms ideals based off romantic media, people in PSRRs form ideals based off of their own parasocial relationships. These relationships allow young people to experience romantic relationships in a safe environment, free from heartbreak, rejection, or pain. They can decide what they like in a relationship and what they don't like, and as such, can crystallize their beliefs, preferences, and expectations. But still, it's extremely ideal. After all, you're less likely to imagine negative events between your parasocial object and yourself. Unless, of course, you're on One Direction Tumblr in 2012. Just because parasocial relationships are ideal doesn't mean they're entirely painless. Despite happening in your imagination, they still have roots in reality, and they can easily become unhealthy. I would know. I was there when fans allegedly broke into airport security cameras to watch One Direction wait around for a flight. I was there when fans gathered intel about their blood types and appendage sizes. I was there for Babygate. Beyond imagining themselves in a relationship with a single celebrity, people who indulge in PSRRs can imagine themselves in relationships with an already formed couple. They consider themselves the third lover, the extra heart in the equation. If the relationship ends, the person in the PSRR believes that they too are undergoing a breakup or divorce. This cuts them down to their core and distorts their sense of boundaries. For example, a few months ago, Dylan Minnette posted a photo booth roll of him and his new girlfriend. Mind you, I know nothing of this person, or the person he's dating, or who he dated before, or the details of either of those things. This just showed up on my Instagram feed. But the comments are very telling. I know you and Lydia broke up last year in December, but this feels way too soon, especially after a 4-year relationship. I'm still not over Lydia. I am not calling this new girl mom. Dylan is just trying to get Lydia jealous, but it won't work because she is way too mature for this BS. He cheats on her and then posts this? Wow, what an asshole. These two won't last. I know it. So my day is ruined. Thanks. Like, I'm depressed now, but go off. Gonna go swallow a jean jacket real quick. There's also similar comments under posts about Taylor Swift and her rumored boyfriend, Travis Kelce. I don't like them together. IDK, why? I just have a weird feeling about it. She probably feels safe with him. I miss Joe and I still want them to get back together. If I were Travis, I'd be carrying her around like a princess and giving her foot rubs and laying my coat down over a puddle for her to walk on and sprinting to get ahead of her just to open every single door. It's an interesting pairing. Physically not my thing, but kudos if it's hers. Deep down though, I think she should try out women. Welcome to the T.O.E part of the video, where I shut the fuck up in theory, not in practice, and let you have a chance to shine. T.O.E is a newsletter which you can subscribe to on Substack for free, where I ask you questions about a topic and you write in with answers. Let's read some of your letters now. What Whitney is watching wrote, "In a weird way, I'm almost enjoying seeing the demise of all these celebrity relationships. We are constantly inundated with perfectly PR prepped stories of celebrities and their flawless, conflict-free relationships, despite so many of them having red flags. And while we've always known it was all fake, having the confirmation of that falseness feels good. It's awful, but this is a drawback of too much exposure." Sophia speaks about parasocial relationships in the K-pop fandom, stating, "K-pop idols are often not allowed to date or reveal their relationships to the public. Also, that they can keep their perfect image. On one hand, I know so many girls my age who had a favorite idol, who they could buy merchandise of and fantasize about falling in love with. It's harmless and can teach young teenagers what love and relationships can look like. On the other hand, that love can quickly turn possessive. Stalking and harassment has always been a problem for fans who feel entitled to their idols' lives. When idols are revealed to be dating someone, their fans attack their partner for ruining their perfect idol." Emily states, "Celebrity culture cannot be more different in today's age than it was even 10 years ago. People across the globe are struggling with political strife and poverty, which gives us an entirely different viewpoint of those making money we couldn't dare to dream of. As a result, we are angry with celebrities. I think lots of people resent them. That's why when they break up, the internet chooses a winner and a loser. The loser either represents a person who hurt us in real life, or maybe they did something problematic, and then the internet can punish them with cancel culture, aka the only method of control we have of the obscenely wealthy." Anonymous writes, "I believe we put celebrities on such a high pedestal that we believe how they are loved is the best it can be. When that belief is tarnished, it can make us think celebrities are more human, but I believe it does just the opposite. We start to wonder what their response will be. Eventually, they're not on a pedestal, but instead they are a lion in a cage with everyone watching and hoping that they'll attack." To close, let's hear from Jay, a person on the aromantic spectrum. Jay writes, Love exists in infinite ways, and I hope that you can recognize the love that is already around you and find more. You don't have to limit yourself to a romantic relationship. You are your own person and don't need a partner or romance to be a whole person. There are so many ways to connect with people and so many different types and kinds of relationships. Make friends with deep connections, build community, revolutionize love. Love is alive. Time for us to help it grow. Well said, Jay. Truthfully, I don't think celebrities are cannibalizing love. I also don't think love is dead. If you want to be honest here, celebrities are mirroring institutions of love that have existed for as long as idealized images of love have. Love is, as portrayed by both celebrities and the media, a secular salvation, a fairy tale, a four-step to marriage. The only thing we're cannibalizing in relation to love is how our culture understands, signifies, and performs love. It's fair to argue that certain sects of people are disenchanted with love, and therefore avoid it or show disinterest in it. Charles Lindholm argues that the fiction of romance has become less and less convincing to Westerners, as it is now an empty form, acutely conscious of itself as code or cliché. Our growing disenchantment with ideal love comes mainly from the cognitive dissonance created by our culture that declares love as perfect, simple, and easy to digest. That isn't always the case. Love is complex and sometimes it's hard. Not because to love means to inherently struggle, fight, or abuse, but because it means to do. You have to do love constantly. Bell Hooks considered love an action more than a feeling. And that's not something that we're taught about growing up. It's not something that we've learned to internalize. So when things get hard, and by hard, I don't mean mistreatment or abuse, we don't know how to match our ideal image of love to the reality of love. And so we think that love is useless or a myth or dead entirely, but that's not the case. I think love in the modern sense is simply evolving, and to evolve means to go against tradition, which makes a lot of people upset. Like I said earlier, we tend to conflate love with marriage and romantic relationships. First comes love, then comes marriage, then comes a baby carriage. So when we see all of these celebrities breaking up and divorcing, when we see marriage numbers decline, traditionalists will cry out about a lack of love, when really it can be so much more complex than that. Daniel Harris's essay talks a lot about love as endurance, especially in a marriage. He argues that newer generations are participating in something called romantic selfishness, where he believes that we've become too romantic for our own good. We think of marriage as something that happens if you want it to, and not something to do out of obligation. He states, marriage is now about pleasure, not necessity, and no one is more deeply involved in the fabrication of the ideology of romantic fulfillment than the celebrity. He believes that love is not romantic, and that the standards associated with constant romance are hard to fulfill. Therefore, love, and by proxy marriage, endure better as a business exchange. Millennial love is especially dead to Lawrence R. Samuel, who cites research reports from the think tank Pew Research. Pew indicates that the percentage of people aged 18 to 29 who are not in committed relationships is rising. A national poll found that almost 60% of the respondents were not at the time in a committed relationship, and that most of them were not interested in being committed to anyone. Many millennials simply do not want to take on the commitment and responsibility that comes with anything or anyone requiring long-term investment. The generation is also straying away from ownership of cars, homes, and full-time jobs, consistent with their freelance lifestyles. There are so many things wrong with these arguments, especially that last quote by Samuel. Millennials aren't foregoing home or car ownership because they hate love. They're foregoing ownership of any and everything because they simply cannot afford it. Houses are no longer priced at a shoestring and belly button length. You actually have to pay real money for them now. Unbelievable! But above all of this, the argument that Samuel and Harris put forth is that love is dead because it lacks marital and relational endurance. This is a popular argument on social media. In fact, I can see it strengthened by the recent inundation of celebrity breakups and divorces. How can love be alive and well if people are giving up on it? Our grandparents didn't give up. Their grandparents didn't give up. They stuck it out through thick and thin, abuse and neglect, dissatisfaction and lovelessness. They should be our true aspirations. Except, endurance isn't a marker of love. I'd rather imagine endurance as a cover for murder, aiding abuse or mistreatment, and an otherwise lack of love. People preach endurance above all else. Good partners endure. Endurance means you care. But I believe that preaching endurance above all else takes away agency. It takes away fruitfulness. It often takes away life. I speak primarily from the perspective of someone who grew up in an abusive household. And there were a lot of complexities to this situation. On one hand, it's extremely difficult to leave abusive relationships. I don't think we give that the weight it deserves. And on another hand, it's often frowned upon for spouses, especially wives, and certainly wives of certain generations, to leave a relationship. It's perceived as a moral, religious, and even sometimes human failure. They're not given many outs. They're not given many resources. And so I do believe that it's a privilege to be able to safely break up with someone or divorce someone. And it's a privilege that we shouldn't take lightly. What kills love is the myth that love ordains secret endurance. That is, you endure everything in silence because that's what a good spouse does. This was a popular notion for generations of the past, and was one reason why so many of them maintained decades-long relationships. Bell Hooks wrote about her father, the ideal image of a patriarch, in her novel, The Will to Change. And alongside this, she discussed how his domination over the household affected her, her siblings, and especially her mother, his wife. A 50s woman, my mother was willing to cling to the fantasy of the patriarchal ideal, even as she confronted the brutal reality of patriarchal domination. After 50 years of marriage, she would not be leaving him, but she would no longer believe in love. Only her bitterness found a voice. She now speaks the absence of love, a lifetime of heartache. It was also harder for women to leave their spouses due to the systemic misogyny barring them from living fulfilling, independent lives. Obviously, love, divorce, and why people stay together or break up is a lot more multifaceted than I can feasibly argue. But speaking strictly through the lens of endurance over love in relationships, especially as argued by Harris, love is not ailing simply because people refuse to tolerate poor behavior. Breakups are not a cannibalization of love. I would argue that the breakdown of a relationship, celebrity or otherwise, a commitment to desertion, has the potential to be healthy. Harris argues that love is dead, and by proxy, romantic relationships are dead because people are brainwashed into believing in ideal love. He states, "We bemoan the fact that we have become too cynical for such a sacred institution as marriage, when in fact, we have become too romantic, too idealistic. The fault, in other words, may lie with romance itself. When you believe too much in ideal love," Harris argues, "you're more likely to break up with your partner once you feel unfulfilled." And I don't think that this is wrong, but I would also add on to this by arguing that breakups and divorces are a rejection of romantic ideals. That's why they're not featured in too much romantic media. To break up with a person or to divorce them rejects the idea that they're your soulmate. And it rejects the idea that love is easy and endurable against all odds. To be able to understand and to admit that your relationship isn't working out is very disruptive. It's revolutionary, especially in a culture that posits the idea of a soulmate and the perfect enduring love. You should obviously still care about your partner when you're dating. You should obviously commit to the growth of their spirit and personhood. But when things become absolutely unsalvageable, you have to be honest enough to let go. In short, love isn't dead. It's just being revolutionized, expanded, and given grace for the first time in a millennia. It's being modernized. To argue that love is dead when friends exist, when healthy families exist, when partners and kind strangers and you exist, is a gross miscalculation of how pervasive love is. So, wipe your tears, delete that long post you're going to make about that celebrity breakup, and go out somewhere, random, and show a stranger, a lover, a friend, anybody, that love isn't dead. Hi! Thanks again to Travel Town for sponsoring this video. Make sure to download Travel Town for free by clicking the link in my description and pinned comment, or scan the QR code. Thanks for watching. I'll see you elsewhere. Wow, was that kind of awkward? Bye!